Glad. Thank you. Yes, please share. That's how we continue to grow is sharing this and just kind of talk. They're really just conversations that we get a chance to have with other people. We talk, like those coffee connections, those opportunities to connect with others about things. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. James. I'm gonna read Sister Christina, who's on Zoom right now. She says this. She says, "This class taught me to think about the traits I have." That was when we took the time to take a look into our strengths, our character strengths that we have and can work with. She says, and how to emphasize them. So thank you so much, Christina, for sharing that. We appreciate that. Sister Angie, I know you came a little bit later, so we can. If you want to pass, we can pass and come back. hear kind of where we've all started this class and where we are today. So I think one of the other great takeaways that is my hope for this class is that you all see yourselves as individuals who have value. And that's where it begins. If you can see yourself as an individual who has value, then you begin to look at other people as valued individuals. And once you're able to do that, then the next step is, how can I add value to someone's life? And that's what leadership is also encompasses, is being able to see that in others. So if we can go ahead and change to the next page there, we're going to skip all that. It is the last lesson, bittersweet moment, but focusing on the ministry. I call it the ministry of multiplication. We'll talk a little bit about that. Timeline list, the last class. Let's move on from there. The objective, becoming level 5 leaders. We know the norms. All right. So we'll get to, I think we're already on page 4 on that. For those that have these slides in front of them. So it's going to be the title on there. It says Leading to Change Lives, lesson 6 and 7. It's combined lessons. The levels of leadership is what we're going to talk about today. The 5 levels of leadership is what it should say, but that's what we're going to delve into today. The next one is it's a diagram. I know we moved kind of quickly through these, but it's a diagram of a circle, and it says transformative leadership in the middle. And basically, it is every lesson that we've gone through so far. So hopefully it's all ties into each other. So Leaders Are Born, where we focused on having that burden to lead. We looked at strength-based leadership, discovering our characteristics from within us and how we can lead based off of the strengths that God has given us. Talked about leading with vision and what that looks like. I just mentioned a little bit about that earlier, about looking seeing ourselves as individuals of value and seeing others as value. We focus on servant leadership, which is the highest form of leadership, and the example that Jesus Christ left us. Last week, we talked about how connection is key, building those relationships, connecting with individuals to bring them on board. And then today, the focus is level 5 leadership. And we're going to spend the rest of the class on this diagram, the pyramid that indicates, or that shows rather, 5 levels of leadership. So let's go ahead and get started right into this. So level 1 leadership. Level 1 leadership is where we all start. It's where we all begin. I'm going to read these off and we'll talk a little bit about them as we go through them. But level 1 leadership comes with maybe the title that you get in your job. You're a manager over a team of people. You're a coordinator. You're a director. Maybe it's in the church where you are leading a group of individuals in the church, or even talked about at home, right? This actually could apply to parents, okay? Positions have titles that come with them. And so this form of leadership is really based off of the key word, which I put to the right of it, is rights. People follow you because they have to, right? You're the boss. What you say goes. But level 5 leadership is the basic foundational piece of leadership. When we find ourselves in this position, does position or title automatically make us a leader? So when you get the position, as my dad would say, it would be great if all the skill sets and the tools and everything came with it, but it doesn't, right? The reality is, many times when we are promoted in a position or so forth, a lot of times we come into these places because someone saw some potential within us. However, we are still lacking in some of the knowledge, right? So the reality is, when we get placed in certain positions of leadership, is it really exposes our weaknesses, right? Which is not a bad thing. And for the most part, your team and members who are following you will give you grace for some time, right? But here's the part where it's crucial and critical that when you start at this level one base of leadership, it is important that you don't stop growing as a leader. Many times, and I've seen it before, where leaders will get positions and they stop learning. It's like, I'm here, I've reached it, this is it, you know? And then they don't go beyond that. When you stop learning, you stop growing. And so this is a period of grace for us, okay? Where you do a lot of reflecting in level one, reflecting on your strengths, reflecting on areas where you may need to improve, right? And then you go to work on it, okay? So level one leadership, people will follow you because of the position that you have, and they'll give you grace because of it. But that doesn't last long, right? It's not going to last very long because then some of your areas where you may need to grow are going to start being transparent, right? People are going to see it. And so it's important that you continue to grow. One of the things that we talk about in educational leadership is we get our positions, our jobs, and all that. And especially in Clovis Unified, there's a chain of a hierarchy that you have to prove yourself at this level, then you can go to this level, and then it's this level. I mean, there's so many levels before you become a principal, or so forth. And a lot of times, administrators get caught up with the idea that I'm here, and as long as I'm doing my job, I'm a leader. You know, I'm doing the day-to-day. But beyond that, they don't have conversations about leadership. They don't take time to self-reflect on how they're leading people. And so they go to apply for the next job and that principal position, and they never quite get that job. And it's because they don't do their homework, right? And what I mean by that is it's taking the time to figure out who you are as a leader and finding out how you can continue to grow. It's reflective. You have to be reflective in any kind of leadership position. It's hard because it's looking at yourself in the mirror and it's like, man, Daniel, you're not strong in these areas. You know, and that's hard, right? Because we all want to feel like we're doing a great job. But then it's addressing those areas that we just need to improve on, and that's okay. And I'll talk about that we are always at a level one at some point. I'll get to that later on. But that's level one. It's position, it's title. So we want, if we're starting at level one, our goal is to become level two leaders. Level two leadership is about permission. So level two leadership, the key word there is relationships, okay? Relationships, which we've talked about a little bit. People follow you because they want to, okay? So if you've started as a level one leader, you can get to a level two by how? How do you get to a level two? You're a level one leader, you come in, new position, you've got the title, you may not have all the pieces together yet, but you're like, all right, I'm trying to grow and become a level two leader. How do you become a level two leader? Getting to know people, their trust, right? It's finding out where people are at, right? What else? Learning what works, what doesn't work. What does this look like? How do you become a level two leader? What does that look like? What could that look like? What could you do? Taking time to get to know people, right? The relationship piece is trust. And that will also gain you more time and more grace with people, right? Relationships are key in leadership. They are key. I was thinking about this. So we a group of us had just come out of a conference, some leadership conference or it was a school conference that we were at, and it was a group of our team, and we went and decided to try out Dutch Bros for some reason, and what it was all about. So we went to Dutch Bros, and one of the driver actually had gone there a couple times already. And so the person in the front who was taking the order, they tell the driver, they're like, oh, like how's Bacon doing? And like having this conversation, like, who's Bacon? Like, I don't even know who that is. Well, the driver and the person who's taking the order had previous conversations when the last time they went through, and the whole culture about Dutch Brothers is developing a relationship with the customer, right? And so they realized that it was, they had a dog because they ask you all these questions, and the person's dog's name was Bacon. And so, I'm like, I don't even know this person had a dog and they're on my team, right? And here they are serving them coffee. But it's this culture. If you can develop this with your teams, or the people that you lead, this culture of relationships, of taking time to invest in people. It's the little things that you get when you get to know about individuals, that goes a long ways, right? And that's so important in any people that you're leading, is taking time to invest in them. One thing that you're going to notice as you continue to go up in this pyramid, thank you. As you continue to go up in this pyramid, it's going to require more work and more energy. Need energy, 100%, because it's very easy to stay at the level one. It's very easy, you got the position, of course, people have to listen to you. But what kind of leader do you want to be? Are you someone that's about the position, or are you someone that's about the purpose? And the purpose goes a longer ways. We're going to talk about today too how this level 5 leadership, it doesn't just affect the people that you work with, but it affects generations after. We'll talk about that later. So level 2 is permission. Level 3 leadership now. Level 3 leadership has to do with production. And it's the key word here is results. People follow because of what you have done for the organization. Now, level 3 leaders are individuals that have invested a lot of time in what they're doing, right? They've been doing their role for years. And so people respect them because of the time that they've put in, maybe because of even the things that they have done for the organization, right? So they have proven themselves to people, right? There are, in my new role, I'm in a different role right now, but I've been at the same site for now 9 years. And so I've proven to folks that, that I've gained their trust and all that. So if I make new decisions and all that, it may not be right, I still have their trust because I've put in a lot of time now with them. So level 3 comes with the time that people put in to the role that they're in. So that people will follow them because of that. There's maybe some knowledge that they've gained through that. As we're going through this, I want you to also reflect to see where you are, what kind of leader you are right now. And if you feel like you're a level 1 leader right now, don't worry about that. That's why we're here. And I'll tell you, I'm a level 1 leader as well. And I'll share more about that in just a moment. So level 3 is production. Now level 4, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on these next 2 levels here. Level 4 leadership is about people development. Okay. The key word here is reproduction. Hence the title of today was about the ministry multiplication. Reproduction. People follow because of what you have done for them. This is, this to me is what would make me want to follow somebody. The levels below that, not so much. That's kind of the basics. But somebody who is willing to develop me as an individual, in whatever role that is, in whatever capacity that is, I'm invested because they're taking time to be a mentor for you in your life, and they're taking time to grow you. One thing is seeing potential in someone's life. The other, the other thing is now taking them under your wing and developing them. So let me give you an example of that. One of my biggest mentors in my life is a former principal of mine who not only saw potential, but and anyone that she worked with, anybody who she had on her team, but she made it a point to take time to invest in them. And it's interesting because people will say, they're like, you know, what makes you different than other principals is that you meet us where we're at. It's like, wow, that's really interesting. And she does it without realizing it. And she'll meet her staff, whether it's a teacher or another educator or leader in education. She'll find out where they're at in their life or where they're at in the capacity that they have. And she begins there and she begins to develop them from step to step. When I said that most of us are at a level one, or even including myself, a level one leader, is because you will be at level one with somebody at any point. You might be at a level 3 with somebody. You might be at a level 2 with somebody else. Let's just say you added somebody to your team. You're going to start as a level 1 leader with them, right? And you're going to start all over. And so you're going to have to gain that trust. You have to build those relationships with them. You're going to have to figure out how to invest in them, right? If you see value in them, how can you add value to them, right? So at some point, you're going to be scattered through this pyramid, okay? And figuring out how you can develop individuals. But that's what great leaders do, right? They figure out where the individual is, they meet them where they're at, and then they begin to build them, right? And that is so important. That's critical in building capacity in individuals, okay? Invest in them. The same leader, the same principal reached out to me the other day, gave me a text. They said, hey, I'm going to be speaking at a conference to these other leaders in education. It's in Morro Bay. They have me, they want me to talk about this, some topic in education. And she said, she goes, you came to mind. You'd be great as a thought partner to kind of just think about some things that we could present. I was like, oh, this would be great. So we talked today and we're sharing some ideas and everything. And she mentioned, she said, she goes, you know, I think this would be a great opportunity for you to also join me. I was like, wait, like helping you develop the content or like speaking with you? She goes, this would be a great opportunity for you to take your leadership to the next step and begin to speak more in front of people. She goes, you'd be great. I want you to join me. But, you know, it's things like that where leaders will take you by the hand and say, you know what, this might be new for you, but I'm going to be right here beside you and I'm going to help you because it's going to benefit you in the long run. I'm going to help grow you. Okay. Let me ask you, that takes a lot of work. That takes time, right? But that's the kind of leadership that impacts generations, right? Because if I'm going to be impacted by that, I'm going to be my job, or what I'm going to want to do is reciprocate that to other people. Does that make sense? That's level 4 leadership right there, is developing others. Okay. Level 5 leadership. Level 5 leadership is the pinnacle of leadership. And this one, I mean, as I even reflected, I'm not quite sure I'm at that level, because that one it takes time to get to that point, and it takes time working with the team to get to that point. So level 5, the key word there is respect. People follow because of who you are and what you represent. Level 5 leaders take other leaders that they are developing and teach them how to develop other leaders. So it becomes this domino effect. Okay. How can you think about this question? How can you, and where you at in what you're leading, how can you, I lost my train of thought, but let me see if I can get it back. Um, how can you, oh my goodness, I totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Um, well, how can you move your teams forward, right? And a lot of times when we are leading, especially when we're new, um, we forget that there's other people on our team that have a skill set, right? That can lead in certain capacities and certain levels, right? So, how do you develop other leaders to help develop more leaders, right? When you're able to do that, when you have a team of leaders, you're able to move the ship a lot faster, and move in the direction that you want to go. So, um, that's level 5 leaders who are able to do that in developing other leaders. I want you to take a moment to kind of think about these 5 levels of leadership, and we'll have a conversation. Kind of want to talk about, and we'll just share out, whoever feels like sharing out, where you feel like you are right now, and what you're doing to get to that next level, or what you plan on doing. So you can take a moment to think about where you are on that. And like I said, it can be an example that right now I'm at a level 1 with, there's this new team member that we've added, and here I am at a level 1, and this is what my plan is to help take us to the next step. All right. Anyone like to share kind of where they're at and how they like to move to the next level?
I'll say right now, I would
It's flipped because it's not where you are consistently at, just there with everybody, right? But it's where you are with individuals, right? That's kind of where what we're talking about here. Where do people see you with them at? Okay. Anyone else want to share? want to get to know me that well, but if I believe they do and put in the work to get to know them, I know I can gain friendships and and encourage and help encourage people, help encourage them. Very good. Thank you for sharing, Sister Christina. I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, that's a big component, right? Because we can't do all the work, right? It's impossible. That's burnout. That's leader burnout, right? When you want to do all the work. Um, but you can set a vision for people and you can have the conversations with them as far as how you want something to look like. And then continue those conversations and provide opportunities for them to go ahead and carry out what it is the vision is. Does that make sense? So that's also an important piece. Anyone else want to share? If not, I have this last thing here. They're insights into the 5 levels. So I'll read them slowly. If you want to write them down or just take a quick note, there are 10 insights into the 5 levels of leadership. Number one, you can move up a level, but you never leave the previous one behind. You can move up a level, but you never leave the previous one behind. Number two, which we've been talking about already, you are not on the same level with every person. You are not on the same level with every person. Number three brings some assurance. Number three says, the higher you go, the easier it is to lead. That is actually very true. The higher you go, the easier it is to lead. Because then you've created a system that runs itself. It really does. There's this leader person. Oh boy, I forgot his name. Dr. Miles Monroe passed away. He's Bahamian. He would say, he goes, your job as a leader is to develop the next person to come in after you. He says, you want to work yourself out of a job where you get to the point where you've developed leaders who, when you're there, you're not even missed because things run. And that's the reality, right? The reality is we want to develop people to the point where if we're gone, it just keeps going. It keeps functioning. It doesn't skip a beat. And then he would say this. He says, your success is in your successor. The person that comes after you, who you've developed, who you've poured into, should be able to come along and have success. So this doesn't become a me thing anymore, right? It becomes a thing where you've invested in individuals. That's what true leadership is about, right? Because there's some leaders out there to be like, hey, when I'm gone, they'll figure it out. Good luck, right? Good luck. But it's up to you to train them exactly. So when you leave, that doesn't skip a beat, but it continues to build. Number four, the higher you go, the more time and commitment is required to win a level. The higher you go, the more time and commitment is required to win a level. Number 5 is reality here. Reality will hit. Ready? Number 5 says this: moving up levels occurs slowly. It takes time. It really does. Yeah, don't think you have to be a level 5 leader overnight. That's not going to happen. But moving up levels occurs slowly. But Going down can happen quickly. How so? Hmm. Hmm. Is it hard to gain trust? Is it easy to lose trust? That's the key right there. Number six, the higher you go, the greater the return. The higher you go, the greater the return. Number seven, moving farther up always requires further growth. Moving farther up always requires further growth. One important note to take away: don't stop learning. Beyond this class, don't stop learning as a leader. I mean, if that's a leadership book that you want to pick up and read, John Maxwell is one of the biggest writers for leadership. I mean, pick up a Maxwell book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. There's other books out there. Five Dysfunctions of a Team is another one that you can go through, right? There's so much literature that's out there. If it's a podcast, I mean, invest in yourself. If you see yourself as someone of value, invest in yourself. Grow, grow, grow. It gets to the point where it just becomes natural. You go home and you're driving home and you start to reflect about the day. How did I handle that situation? How did that conversation go? How could I have handled it better? How did that meeting go? How could I have, what connections could I have made? How could I have made this relationship a little bit better? Like it just becomes, you start to think about those things. And then when you go to work the next day, it helps you as a leader. Okay. Being reflective is extremely important. Be a reflective leader. Okay. Number 8, not climbing the levels, not climbing the levels limits you and your people. Not climbing the levels limits you and your people. We got to grow. It's important. All right, 2 more here. Here we go. Number 9, when you change positions or organizations, reread that. When you change positions or organizations, you seldom stay at the same level. You seldom stay at the same level. Yep. You might have to start all over again with a new team. Just think about next year. I'm going to start all over again. Sometimes it's daunting to think about things like that. You've invested in so much because it does. It requires a lot of energy. It's exhausting at times. It is, right? When you're in the people business, which leadership is about people, uh, there's a lot of issues that sometimes come up that you have to address, that you have to have these conversations with, and so forth. So, another good book is for Ferocious Conversations. For those of you that have to have those kind of conversations with people, I'm sorry, Fierce. I think it's Fierce Conversations. It's either ferocious or fierce. One of those two conversations. It's a book that basically talks about how to have hard conversations. All right, number 10. Here we go. I'm already over. I'm sorry. Number 10, you cannot climb the levels alone. You cannot climb the levels alone. You can't do this by yourself. Okay. Find mentors. Find somebody who's either been in the position that you've been in before, that has done it well. Find somebody who is successful, somebody who is already a successful leader, but find people that can be your mentor and that can mentor you, that can pour into you. There's a lot of individuals out there who have been successful, who have done these things already, who really, they actually want to pour into people. Find them and find somebody who will invest in you. Like I said earlier, don't stop learning. This class has been really fun. I hope you enjoyed it and gained a lot of information and knowledge from it. I've loved being able to do this and have these conversations with you, but really this is foundational, right? This is the beginning to what you can do, and maybe it's the beginning to your leadership capacity and what God has planned for you. The Bible has a lot of components of leadership, stories after stories of individuals, characters who've possessed and expressed leadership characteristics that you can learn from as well. But don't stop growing, don't stop learning. Be blessed and be agents for change in the kingdom of God. Amen. Thank you so much. God bless you. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you, if not Wednesday, Sunday at service. God bless you all, those that are on Zoom.